被打脸了啊，真的是被打脸。
I have truly been slapped in the face by reality. I never expected that I would end up in such a situation. I am 37 years old this year, and graduated with a master's degree from a 985 university. I thought I had a relatively stable job and a high income, but the monthly household expenses now make me feel utterly powerless. Our family is in a very difficult situation right now. Both my wife and I are unemployed, and we can't even come up with 1,000 yuan. At one point, I used to earn 35,000 yuan a month, and my wife's salary was around 12,000 yuan. Together, we earned around 40,000 to 50,000 yuan per month, and I felt that this income was more than enough to cover our mortgage, living expenses, and our child's tuition fees, with basically no financial pressure. But reality is so ruthless, and now we are both unemployed, facing a financial crisis that we were completely unprepared for. Looking back to the end of August this year, my company announced layoffs. I had worked as the cost director for the company for a full 8 years, and never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I would be laid off. To make matters worse, things just kept getting worse. My wife's outsourcing company suddenly announced that their project was being dissolved, and she was also laid off. That moment was when the financial pressure really hit us. Although I have been actively searching for a new job, the harsh reality has made me feel very discouraged. Many people had warned me that it would be difficult to find a good job after the age of 35, but I've just turned 37. Do you think I'm really too old for a career change? Now in my middle age, I truly feel helpless, and I can only silently bear it. I remember when we bought this house, we even borrowed more than 100,000 yuan from relatives and friends. As living expenses grew, our financial burden became heavier. We bought this house for 5.5 million yuan, and with the renovations, interest, and various taxes, the total cost came to around 6 million yuan. However, now the market value of the house is probably only around 4 million yuan, and it's hard to sell. The market is simply like this, and I have no choice but to accept it. In order to make a living, I have no choice but to try some small businesses and see if I can change my situation. Fortunately, some of my university classmates learned about my predicament and voluntarily helped me, offering to provide me with supplies, as well as ideas and technical support. After more than 2 months of effort, my income has gradually improved, and the project has made some progress. With the help of my classmates, my business has started to show some returns. I believe that with persistence and hard work, things will improve in the near future. So, I've decided to keep going and strive for success. No matter how many obstacles I face, I will never give up easily.
今天心情特别不好，是因为自己的年龄问题，直接被一个公司拒绝了。
Today, I feel particularly down, mainly because of my age, which led to my direct rejection by a company. When the company saw my age, they didn't even consider giving me a chance to have a conversation. This company is a listed company, and a few days ago a headhunter recommended it to me, thinking that I was a perfect fit for the position based on my experience and resume. From my perspective, it seemed like a tailor-made match. I had high expectations, especially since the headhunter himself mentioned that he had recommended several candidates but thought I was the most suitable one. However, things turned out disappointingly. 2 days later, when I asked the headhunter for feedback, he told me the company thought my age was too old. I was surprised and directly asked him, "What age requirements does the company have?" He replied that the company preferred candidates under 38. I am 40, just 2 years above their requirement, yet I was completely rejected because of those 2 years. This made me very confused. Is a 2-year difference really that significant? Can it be that this 2-year gap was enough for the company to dismiss me without even considering a face-to-face meeting, without further consideration? I really feel helpless. Since I graduated with my master's degree, I've had 10 years of experience as a journalist, covering many financial and securities topics, interacting with numerous listed companies, and being involved in the entire process of a company's public listing. Afterward, I joined a large internet company where I gained valuable experience. Later, I returned to Shenzhen and took on the role of brand public relations director at China's largest tea chain. With my resume and experience, I should be considered a valuable asset in the industry. However, because I'm over their so-called age threshold by just 2 years, I now can't even get a chance to interview. This has left me feeling very frustrated and confused. How are people like us in our middle years supposed to survive? I know some middle-aged people choose to work as delivery drivers, but it's not that I look down on the delivery industry. Actually, I could do that too. The issue is that with my age, qualifications, and experience, I could offer greater value to a company. I truly don't believe I should be discarded by society. But the reality is that many companies seem unwilling to give us middle-aged people a chance. In fact, I've been rejected multiple times due to my age. And most of these rejections happened at the stage when my resume was first submitted. It's not that I was rejected in the final interview round, but as soon as companies saw that I was over 40, they immediately discarded my resume like trash, without considering me further. It's very complicated for me and I just can't understand it. Now, workers in their 30s will eventually get older too. Does that mean after turning 40, there will be no career development opportunities left for us? Will today's young people be abandoned by society when they turn 40? I feel very helpless and anxious. I graduated when I was about 25 or 26, and now I'm 40, which means I have roughly 14 to 15 years of work experience. If retirement is at 60, that gives me 20 more years of work. Having worked 14 to 15 years so far, I still have 20 years ahead of me. If you calculate it this way, I'm not even at the end of my career, but I'm already being rejected by society. This leaves me feeling very lost, unsure of how to spend the next 20 years. If people in their 40s are not accepted by society, how will our generation continue to move forward? If we're still at a company in our 40s, does that mean our presence is hindering the company's development? Shouldn't people over 40 be optimized out or eliminated by companies? These questions make me feel very anxious because it's not just about my own career. It's also about the overall social mobility and stability. People like us in our 40s, can't companies give us a chance to play? Can't they give us a second opportunity to choose? I believe I'm not alone in this. Many middle-aged people like me are hoping that society will give us another chance, a chance to step back into the game. We're not asking to be the main players, we're fine with being substitutes, but at least give us 30 minutes on the field to show what we've got. We have experience, ability, and after years of hard work, we've accumulated enough knowledge, experience, and a sense of responsibility. We have a social responsibility, as well as a family responsibility. Our generation has faced many challenges, but we're still full of vitality and energy. We're still capable of contributing to society and to companies. Please, companies, give us middle-aged people a chance to play.
95%的中国老爷们儿已经养不起家了。
Can you believe that 95% of Chinese men can no longer afford to bear the burden of supporting a family? In today's Chinese society, it is almost impossible for a man alone to bear all the economic responsibilities of a family. It's even harder than climbing to the sky. Especially in recent years, the situation seems to be getting increasingly severe. For most ordinary families, both spouses must work together and put in joint efforts to maintain a basic standard of living and barely cover daily expenses. If the wife chooses to stay at home full-time to take care of the children, relying solely on the husband's income to support the entire family, many families can only live from hand to mouth, facing constant financial strain. This seems to be the common reality faced by most families in China today. If we look back at our parents' generation, although their living conditions were tough, one person's income could still support the entire family. Back then, although conditions were poor and life was tight, they could at least maintain the basic operation of the family to some extent. So where exactly does the problem lie? I believe there are 3 main reasons. First, income levels are too low. Our salaries are generally so low that they could be described as sick, like sick bean sprouts, showing little to no growth. Even if your income is already low, you often face pressure or even insults from your superiors or colleagues in the workplace. Even if you want to resist or quit, you can only grit your teeth and endure because you fear losing your job. Finding a job nowadays is also not easy, especially in big cities, where positions are limited and competition is extremely fierce. Job hunting is like grabbing bargain goods, with opportunities slipping away before you know it. Second, the temptation of capital is everywhere, and the wave of consumerism is nearly ubiquitous. The money you work so hard to earn may not even have a chance to warm up in your hands before it gets spent. Merchants and capitalists constantly launch various essential products, setting up many conditions where you feel you have to buy them. As a result, you spend every penny, yet still fail to meet the real needs of your family. This means that relying on just one person to support the entire family's economic life is almost like asking a snail to drag a big truck. It's simply unrealistic. Third, the rising cost of living, especially for basic necessities like education, housing, healthcare, and pension, is like bandits continually plundering our wealth. These costs are growing like a snowball, becoming larger and increasingly unbearable. Looking back, the costs of these necessities were much lower 10 years ago, and many times, no money was even needed. Today, the cost of essential goods has soared to absurd levels, almost like a runaway wild horse, completely out of control. Just think about it. 10 years ago, a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan might have been enough to maintain a normal life. But today, many people's salaries are still stuck at around 3,000 to 4,000 yuan, while living costs have skyrocketed. Housing prices, for example, have increased 30 times over the past decade. This enormous financial pressure is precisely why many young people choose not to get married, not to buy a house, and not to buy a car. Today, many people choose to lie flat, earning money and living freely without much responsibility or pressure. But once they want to start a family and support one, that overwhelming sense of pressure feels like a mountain, so heavy that they can hardly breathe. For those of us who are already married, when the money is not enough, what can we do? Sometimes we have no choice but to take shortcuts and borrow money in an emergency, using credit cards, online loans, and other tools. As a result, many people fall into the debt trap, getting deeper and deeper and finding it harder to escape. In the end, it's like a little lamb wandering into a wolf's den, calling for help but getting no response, falling into an inescapable predicament.
人家都说，男人有泪不轻弹。
People often say, a man's tears are not easily shed. But sometimes reality really forces a person into a corner. It feels like life is incredibly hard. Incredibly hard. I earn so little each month. My child needs to go to school and take extra lessons. On top of that, there are various expenses at home, and there are elderly family members to take care of. I'm currently in debt for tens of thousands of yuan. It feels like year after year, I work hard to pay off the debt, but somehow, the debt just keeps growing. I often stay up all night with insomnia. You tell me, when will I ever finish paying off this debt? Being a man is really too hard. Why is being a man so difficult? When I get home, my wife scolds me, saying I'm useless and can't make money. She always gives me a cold shoulder. She says, look at other men, their husbands are all so capable, they can make money. Then look at you. Sometimes, when I'm working at the factory and injure my hands, I come home, and my wife doesn't even care. Sigh. Being a man is really too difficult. Too difficult.
被裁了啊，兄弟们，我是又被裁了。
Brothers, I was laid off again today. It was around this time last year that I went through a layoff as well, and the pain from that experience still lingers in my mind. This year I gave my all to find a job. I sent out hundreds of resumes and attended countless interviews. In the end, I barely managed to get into a company through connections, feeling like I had fought for my life to find a way out. But little did I know, things soon took a turn. The company had no new projects this year, resources were tight, and the final result was that I was laid off once again. Now it's winter in Beijing, the weather is getting cold, and the heating hasn't been turned on yet. But my heart feels even colder, like it's fallen into an ice cave. I feel like my career has come to an end. I don't have much resistance because the company can't really help it. Everyone knows that the real estate industry has been in crisis these years, and many companies just can't hold on. The market environment is extremely tough. Many of my friends are in the same boat. Some have been at home for a year or two, unable to find a job at all. People say that someone like me in middle age with over 1 million yuan in mortgage debt and with elderly parents and children to support is under immense pressure every month. I can barely catch my breath. Right now I'm sitting in my car, not even daring to go home. I'm filled with anxiety. I don't know how to face my wife when I get home, or how to explain things to my parents, especially my child who's still in school. How should I explain all this to them? At 40, I should be in a stable career phase, but right now I feel completely powerless. I don't want to do anything and I don't know what to do. I feel utterly lost. Are there any brothers out there who have been laid off like me? How are you doing? Do you feel as lost as I do? Do you also feel like your life has suddenly fallen into an endless abyss?
Today's discussion is more for those ordinary workers, especially for those who are facing career crises in their middle years. I hope to offer some self-rescue methods for you to help you prepare ahead of time. The things I'm going to say today may not be agreeable to everyone, because some of the truths I'm about to share may be uncomfortable. However, even so, I believe there will be some people who can take this to heart and find inspiration and help from it. First, if we compare working for others to a disease, then the greatest harm of this disease is the immense drain it has on your vitality. There are two main ways this depletion occurs. One is that you give all your time to work. From the moment you leave your house in the morning, you are constantly preparing yourself for the day's work. After a busy day, you often can't even remember what exactly you did. The whole process feels like it's just a mechanical operation. The other way is that when you're working, you are completely mechanically going through the motions, only doing the tasks that are assigned to you, with almost no time for thinking, not even considering any problems throughout the day. After a few years, in fact, all you've done is repeat the same tasks every day with no change. Although these two states may seem different, they both drain your energy and vitality in a huge way. The time you should be using to enrich and improve yourself or to rest is instead spent on exchanging for a meager income. In the end, all you can say is this is stability. Next, the essence of working for others is dequalification. In most companies, the majority of positions essentially just require a compliant tool. Some may argue that their bosses often paint a picture for them, encourage them, and ask them to have problem-solving abilities. But I must tell you that apart from the rare few exceptionally talented professionals, all of your boss's requirements, especially those so-called encouragements and expectations, are essentially just to control you and ensure you complete your tasks on time. Let's also look at the stability and income of working for others. Any future changes almost never depend on you, but on industry shifts, market changes, or the decisions of your boss. You might think your job is stable right now, but if one day the company decides to lay people off, or if the industry goes through a drastic change, your income and job stability can be instantly shattered. This is perhaps the most tragic, yet the most realistic fact. Now, I want to share some solutions. Step 1. If you find yourself unemployed and can't find a satisfactory job right away, you may have to take on some low-income jobs, such as delivering food, delivering parcels, or driving a taxi, to get through this period. You may have to lower your expectations, but this is the reality you must face, because you first need to resolve your immediate needs for food and shelter. Step 2. Stop being in a state of confusion. Whether you're already unemployed or still working, give yourself a period of pause, at least 1 week. This pause will not destroy you. On the contrary, it will help you clearly see your future direction. The more confused you are, the less you should panic. Don't rush to seek help from external forces or blindly look for so-called secrets or shortcuts, because most of the time, doing so only wastes time. Step 3. Reflect, especially for those who have entered middle age in their careers. You must deeply summarize the skills you've accumulated over the years and think about how to transfer these skills into directions that benefit you. For example, if you work in advertising, can you transfer your skill to provide budget support to the other side? If you work in recruitment, can you transition to career training and job coaching? If you're in development, can you independently complete a full project? If you're in sales, do you have the ability to handle orders on your own? This is crucial. You must have the ability to independently complete work that can truly be monetized. Step 4. Do subtraction. Eliminate all unnecessary socializing, friends, and entertainment. Tell yourself that for the next 1 or 2 years, you must focus on learning and preparing for your future over the next 5 to 10 years. This may be a painful process, but it's a necessary part of growth. Step 5. Take a look at your contacts and see if there are any people you know who are doing well and could offer you some help. If you don't have much in terms of resources or savings, relying solely on yourself may not be realistic. In this case, consider whether any of your friends or relatives can provide some opportunities. Perhaps others can lend you their boat to help you navigate, rather than you having to row your own small boat alone. If any of this has resonated with you, I hope you will listen to it again and reflect on your own situation, taking immediate action. In the future society, the weak wait to be saved, while the strong know how to save themselves. I hope your life will never face a career crisis in middle age. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to provide better content for you. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.